The philosophers throughout the generations have addressed the question, what is the most important ingredient in the good life? What virtue defines man? And there have been different philosophical schools on this question. For example, if you go back to the early Greeks, they put the emphasis on knowledge. Knowledge is the key to human success in behavior and morality. The Stoics, on the other hand, put the emphasis on self-discipline, on willpower. A person has to be in control of himself, of his desires, his appetites. Later on, there was a school of thought called the Epicureans. They put the emphasis on contentment, banish fear and pain, just be content in life. While Judaism accepts all these as virtues, and no doubt that knowledge is very important, there's no question that self-discipline is to be emphasized, and on top of it all, of course, contentment, peace of mind. But there's one virtue that defines the Jew. It's an over-encompassing virtue. It embraces all of life. And that is Kedusha, sanctity. Kedoshim tiyu ki kadosh ani. The key for the Jew to come close to the Shekhinah, to have a permanent relationship with Almighty God, is sanctity. Sanctity in all areas of human behavior. And of course, if you open up to Parshas Kedoshim in Vayikra Yud Tes, you will see that the emphasis is on so many different areas. There's hardly a domain of human endeavor, of human behavior, that's not encompassed by Kedusha. Kedusha means imitating God, being pure of mind and spirit, focusing our energies on that which is uplifting. Imitatio Deo is really the virtue in Judaism. But if there's one particular area where Kedusha is up front, is emphasized above and beyond all the others, above and beyond reverence for parents and returning lost objects, and loving thy neighbor and thyself as thyself, there's one area I would put the focus on, the emphasis on. Kedusha in modesty and tzniut, in relations between the sexes. And within this context, a tremendous amount of emphasis has been placed by the poskim on the concept, the halacha of Yichud. This is, of course, well known as the prohibition of a man and a woman who are not married to one another to be alone in a private, secluded place. But what's not known is that the laws and the prohibition of Yichud encompass many different cases, many situations. And the laws are complex. I would say that in our society, in contemporary society, more than ever before, the laws of Yichud have become relevant, upfront, issues that have to be addressed by the poskim in order to come to decisions. We can talk about contemporary society both from the perspective of sociological and technological developments, things that have become more popular in our society and certainly touch on the laws of Yichud. Situations like the woman in the working place, adoption, which is now very popular. We can talk about the physician examinations, situations of client and therapist relationships which touch on Yichud. So there's a whole gamut of sociological reasons why Yichud and its laws, as complex as they are, have to be studied today. Modern society knows situations that didn't exist before. The elevator, for example, which presents a problem for the poskim in Yichud, and other technological advancements. But I think above and beyond that, the reason why Yichud in our time has to be studied, it's so relevant, is because we're witnessing a society which is so permissive in areas that until now were considered modesty and private and intimacy. We can imagine today in our time, even public areas perhaps, accessible to all, in which promiscuity is accepted as a mode of behavior. Nobody looks twice. Nobody thinks this is different. And dafka, because of this permissive atmosphere in which we live, the laws of Yichud have become very relevant. So Kedusha and modesty, tzniut, that's what we're dealing with. In this shir, Mirza Hashem, we will address guidelines for the laws of Yichud. Bezrat Hashem, in the next year, we'll address specific cases and situations that arise in contemporary society. But until we study the guidelines, we won't be able to feel the logic of the poskim and how it applies to many situations. The sugya of Yichud begins in Kiddushin. At the very end of Masechta Kiddushin, starting with the Mishnah and Daf Pei Amud Beis, and continuing for another blot or so,